Welcome back to another episode of Jamin's Daily. Today we have two guests for the first time on the show, two guests via Zoom, all the way from San Antonio, Texas. We have Ashley Bania, who I went to school with. Say hello to the guest at home.
Hello, guests at home. Hello, Corpus Christi. Hello, San Antonio. So, hometown is Corpus Christi.
South Texas, South Central and South Texas. And then we also have ourselves Mark Longoria. How you doing, Mark?
Morning. Hey, doing well. Good morning. Good morning to all of the folks that are watching today. I'm from the real South Texas, down in the Rio Grande Valley.
He's got his beat.
Oh, snap. Well, thanks for joining us today. We're going to get into quite a few things real estate because both Mark and Ashley are realtors. And y'all work with what real estate company do y'all work with?
EXP Realty.
EXP Realty.
Right.
Great. And whoever wants to just go first, tell me a little bit, the real estate market in San Antonio. I know it's wherever people live, real estate's very localized, but is there anything in general that's going on in the market in general that we can kind of share with the folks at home?
Ash, go ahead.
So I would actually preface with, currently we're in COVID time, right? COVID season. So at the beginning of all this, we really didn't have an idea of what that was going to mean for the real estate industry. Initially when it all hit, this was all new and it was scary, right? We knew that people were getting sick and we didn't know how severe it was going to be, but it kind of scared some of our clients. It caused some people to, just not want to go into strangers' homes.
I would imagine like your listings would fall because people don't want strangers in their house.
Yeah. So we had to become inventive, creative to still safeguard our clients, make sure that they are being protected. One of my clients in particular, she told me, Ashley, I really don't think we can see any more homes. I'm really nervous. So, because some of the homes we were going in, we were quarantined. We had the stay-at-home order. There were people inside the home. So we were showing the homes and the owners or tenants were still there. So it was too much. So
that can be kind of awkward, right? Normally you don't want them there when you're showing a house.
Right. We don't necessarily want, we're not in the business of hurting people's feelings either. My clients aren't going to be as honest about the house as they would if nobody was there. So, the show had to go on. My clients still needed a home. So I offered to continue to record their home. So they actually purchased their home through a video. I was doing my showings virtually. I would record. They both worked all day long, Monday through Friday. So I would go into these homes that they were interested in, record, and send them these videos. They ended up choosing their home and are currently living in their home from a video. They put an offer on a home,
Sure.
found it, fell in love. And it just really caused us all to get creative and just innovative and push our limits. Like, what else can we do? What else can we do to make sure that our clients are still getting what they need and getting, finding their home, selling their home?
And was this an idea? I'm sure Mark were you doing something or had to do something similar or anything change in your approach in the last couple months?
Yeah, I think everybody had to adjust. There really wasn't much of a choice, especially with the lockdown and things that were going on. Now, we were found to be essential the entire time. So we were still, we still could be out there. However, we're all very cautious about it. So it did change it a little bit. However, two things, even though COVID, brought up its ugly head, two things remain true. And that's number one, the rates are at an all-time low. And number two, there is great competition with buyers. There are tons and tons of buyers that homes just do not last on the market. So I think at the very beginning of COVID, people kind of pumped the brakes a little bit and thought, well, I still, like Ashley said, I still need to move. So let's get back on the market. So within a few weeks, it began to bounce back right away. And right now, even though we're still in the mid of COVID and we got spikes here and there, man, houses are just They're selling so fast. There are so many people shopping, again, because of the low rates.
Yes, I can, because real estate, insurance, they're kind of intertwined a little bit. I completely agree. There may have been a little bit of, within in my business as well, as there was maybe a little bit of a slowdown, but for the most part, I see how many new houses are being sold because we're insuring them. And right now, because the rates are so low, people are buying. So even though you have this, the virus in the background, can you imagine if I'm wondering if the rates maybe wouldn't be as low without coronavirus. So if there was no coronavirus, maybe the rates would be. So it's kind of like, you hate to, you always got to find the silver lining, right? I guess is what we could say. So, in addition to the rates, is there anything else? You would think when you watch the media, there's some doom and gloom, and perhaps the economy isn't doing so well. For some people, obviously, if you're in hospitality and bars, restaurants, things like that. But there must be if there's a lot of buyers out there, it's because people have income. What do you think, Ashley?
There are a lot of buyers, some good. I mean, some are for good circumstances. Others are not so great circumstances, but this caused people, unfortunately, to really reevaluate their finances and readjust their style of living. Some have had to make the choice of selling their home to get into something a little bit, with a lower mortgage rate.
That's one thing I was going to ask you is when you mentioned, you kind of said for non-good, it just came to me. So, if you lose your job and you're in this nice house, you can't afford it anymore. I guess you have to list it and put it on the market, right?
This is where I insert my number so people can call me if they have to list it.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
No, you need to find a way though. There'll be another moment, Mark, to drop it in.
Yeah. Now, one thing, if I can add one thing, San Antonio in and of itself is a great destination city because we have, great weather, for the most part, right? We have, of course, the theme parks like SeaWorld and Fiesta Texas, and we got the Riverwalk, and we've got the Texas Hill Country. There are so many reasons, lakes, fishing, recreation. There's so many reasons why people would move here. But on top of that, we're blessed in the fact that San Antonio is Military City, USA. So we have a huge number of military from all 5 branches that are coming in and out of San Antonio at any given moment, which really just keeps the economy going in San Antonio. So for both industries, insurance and real estate, that's a great thing.
Yeah, A&M had Texas A&M. We were talking because you said your son is an Aggie, and I graduated from A&M. And it's been a while. It was about 10 years ago. But A&M was doing an away game, a neutral site football game with Army, I believe it was, and it was played in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. And it was like this military bowl kind of the way they promoted it. And it was in San Antonio because, like you said, there's such an abundance of the armed forces and their families. Think about it. For every one person who's in the service, there's like several more who are attached. Yeah. So like you're saying, the impact on the economy is amazing. Ashley, you were saying that you have these people listing for perhaps not the greatest. They're not listing their house because they're going to buy the bigger house. They're listing their house because maybe they've lost their job because of COVID, right?
Correct.
And when you deal with those clients, every client is different. Every person's personality is different. And so I can imagine when people are listing their house, especially in a hot market where you're going to get offers, that's one emotion to have, right? And you're looking at the new house. So when they're talking to you, you're feeding off of that. But then, I don't have any experience with, when they call you and they've just lost their job and they need to go here and they need to sell their house. That puts a whole different feeling to it, right?
It does. It's not, it takes away like the congratulations. The congratulations becomes bittersweet, congratulations. But it's like, let's, you
Sure.
know, we're getting this journey wrapped up. So every client has their different circumstance. They all have their own journey, you know, whether it be first time home buyer, upgrading, you know, getting into a larger home, and then some are wanting to get into a smaller home, you know, some for great circumstances, others not so much. But regardless, I'm on that journey with them. And one thing that I take pride in is making sure that I'm empathetic to my clients, you know, no matter their journey. So I really ride that wave with them, you know. I'm in it with them. I honestly become family with them at times, because it's not just a business, it's a livelihood, you know, for my clients as well. This is their livelihood. This is where they made those precious memories. And sometimes it's very difficult to say goodbye. You grow an attachment there, you know. That's your place of vulnerability.
Yeah, growing up, Mark, my father, and actually maybe remember him, but my father was a football coach and a teacher for many years. He retired, and so he was a coach at Ray when we were in high school, and we moved around. I guarantee you, I'm not exaggerating when I say so. I understand. Like, I had friends in school who like born and raised in like one home. And then I can, you know, so when you're a family later on trying to sell it, you have this huge emotional attachment to it, right? When I was growing up, my parents were never homeowners. They always rented because we never stayed in any city longer than a couple of years. I think maybe we were in Laredo for maybe 5 at the most. But then I want to say my parents probably lived in, before I was born, but I probably lived in 10 different houses growing up. So I didn't really have that same attachment to a home, but now that I'm an adult and I have my own house, I can see the difference. Mark, I had a specific question that I think that I want to know a little bit more about, because I deal with them on the insurance side as well. Normally after y'all sell a house, but home inspections. Okay. What is, you know, do you have a particular, you know, and you can name it, you know, you don't have to, but you can give somebody a shout out, but anybody in particular that y'all use? And when you're talking to your client about the inspection, because I know that can be one of a sticking point in a deal. Why don't you fill us in on that, Mark?
Yeah, let me first say that I'm getting a little nervous because I think at any second now my son's going to be pulling up, and my dog always goes crazy when he pulls up. So we might get interrupted by a barking dog here in a little while. And if we do, Ashley, you can jump in for me. But anyway, back to your question. Inspections, in my opinion, are very important. They're not mandatory, but we as realtors highly suggest that our clients get an inspection, even if it's a brand new house. It's always important to get a third-party licensed inspector to walk in there that's unbiased. They're just walking in and they're looking at the overall general feel of the house from top to bottom, from roof down to foundation.
Do you ever, when you're doing, so when it's a new house and you have you're helping somebody get into a new home, and so you're going to do the inspections, because at this point, like you're saying, it's just a cost of doing business. You know, this is something everybody should just do. It's worth it. But on a new home, I'm sure you're feeling pretty confident, like, oh, don't have to worry about this, because what are the odds, right? So you feel good. You feel good about it. But if it's an older existing home,
yeah,
and it's being inspected, you know, you flip a coin. It's a huge. That's the X factor, I guess, or, you know, who knows what's going to happen.
I think it's worth the $350, $400, whatever it is you're going to spend on an inspector to tell you up front, here is the condition of the house that you're about to buy. And at that point, you have the right to either say, okay, well, at least now I know I have my to-do list on this house, or you can negotiate and maybe ask the seller to repair some of those, the more concerning ones. Or you can just decide, you know what, this is just not what I expected. It's got a lot of hidden problems. Let me just walk away from it.
And that normally happens during what y'all call the option period. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, during the option period, which again is you don't have to have it, but we highly suggest that the buyer have an option period so that they can do their due diligence, think about it, sleep on it, make sure that during that, let's say 7-day period, that they hire an inspector. and be able to look at the inspection report. And if need be, that we negotiate those repairs so that by the time the option period is out, you know, you have a better understanding of the condition of the house, and moving forward, you kind of know where you're at and what the seller is willing to do or not do.
And from my experience, Ashley, I mean, that's really where a lot of times y'all earn y'all's money, right? As representing either the seller or the buyer when it comes into these negotiations over issues like inspections, perhaps.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's where we're able to save our clients some money or really help them make a smart decision as far as what to do next. And sometimes, you know, if a seller, one of the things that I really advise those that are selling is to get a pre-listing inspection as well, because inspections aren't just for buyers, they're for sellers as well. So if they're selling and they get an inspection, they already know what they're working with. So they're not going to be caught off guard when a buyer comes in and says, I want $12,000 of repairs. You know, they've already, one, had that opportunity to take care of it, and two, they already know about what that price point is of negotiation. They already know those margins. So they can kind of go in a little bit more educated into negotiation and feel more confident about their home, about their product. Yeah, and it makes negotiation just a little bit easier too. I've had some people negotiate nothing because we were, one, able to provide the inspection report too. So we said, this is everything that we know about the house. Save your client the $350. So we saved the buyer $350, and they're not going to dig deeper. They're not going to go, you know, they were fine, and we moved on. It ended up making for a quicker closing as well. So
sure. So I can imagine if you're in an option period, you've already been working with your mortgage company, you're pre-qualified, you have an estimated closing date, which people get real excited about because you already, you know, buyers are already thinking about what they're going to do. Sellers are already thinking what they're going to do. And then you have these issues with inspections, or even in many cases financing. Is that right? You know, a lot of times if people come to you and you're hoping that they're pre-qualified, but then you may show them a house that they're like, it's going to be razor thin, right? Mm-hmm. How do you, when you talk to your client about their budget, how does that work?
For who?
Mark, go ahead, Mark.
Well, I can tell you, I tell my buyers the same thing I tell what I post on my listing. So whether I'm listing a house or I'm representing a buyer, I tell them both the same thing, and that is, look, when it comes to the option period, this is not a second place. This is not a second time for you to negotiate. This is a time for you to take a look at the condition of the house, and we're only going to be looking at major issues that are wrong with the house, whether it's HVAC, structural issues with the foundation, the roof, the plumbing. Those are the major issues that we're going to look for. We're not looking at, well, you know, this door doesn't quite shut right, or, you know, that, or by the way, the other was the plumbing. I think I mentioned plumbing. I'm not sure. Anyway, we're not looking at the little details of the house. We're looking at the 5 major factors of the house. And if there's anything that's of safety, electrical, someone's going to get shocks, you know, a house may catch on fire. Those are the issues that we want to talk about. So again, if I'm listing a house, then I'm going to set that up so that the buyer's agent understands, look, we're not going to be renegotiating and rehashing the entire thing after the inspection report. And for my buyers, I let them know, look, when the inspection comes back, don't be afraid, don't be scared, because you're going to have a lot of deficiencies.
Yes.
That's the job of the inspector. He needs to find every little thing that's wrong, or as much as possible, everything that's wrong with the house. So don't freak out about 20 pages worth of deficiencies. Let's focus in on what are some major issues that are going to affect the house itself, the structure, or safety issues. And that's really what we need to hit.
It's funny that you mentioned how in the report they've, you know, some home inspectors may be a little more thorough, or maybe have a little bit more of an eagle eye than others, correct? And so I can imagine you have a buyer who loves a house, then they get the inspection report and it's filled with all these issues. And Mark, you just showed, you know, your expertise in the fact that, you know, it's your job to then prepare them for that, mentally, hey, and emotionally, so that they don't overreact to what they're fixing to see. But then I do know people who then can be annoyed. That was one reason why I wanted to bring the home inspections into it, because we're all working together, right?
Right.
But at the same time, because I know when I'm helping, I have a referral from whether it's a loan originator or a realtor. Sometimes the price of the insurance can make a big deal on whether the deal is going to close, and there's only so much, people get business if you help them close, right? If you help them close, you get business. I could have great rates. I like to think that, hey, I help people. I can get a good rate so they can, but if people keep coming to me, the rate's super high, then it's hard to close. So there's that. I know with inspections, if they come in, I don't want to say aggressive, but if they're finding everything, Mark, what you said is so important to talk to the customers, because you don't want to be feeling like you're losing deals because of overzealous home inspections.
Yeah, I think it's always important to set expectations. And so you've got to be forthright and just say, okay, this is what's going to happen. And, hopefully, we expect the best, we hope for the best, but we also expect the worst. So let's just learn to deal with that. And I think especially when you're dealing with someone that you already know as a buyer's agent, that person is very picky. They're looking for the perfect house, which doesn't exist. You already know when they finally find the house that they like and they put an offer in and the offer is accepted, you already know walking into the option period that, oh boy, we got to get through the inspection report, and they're going to nitpick everything. So that's why I said it from the very beginning. Just be prepared.
Sure.
And let's not sweat the little stuff. Let's just go after major stuff that is really going to affect your family or the safety or the structure of the property.
Ashley, can you let's dig deep into let's tell a story. Maybe can you recall here in the last, really doesn't have to be recent, but a time, so we're talking about how you're working with your clients, we're talking about inspections, we're talking about the market itself, why people are selling, why they're not selling. Is there a particular client that sticks out that that you think would be particularly noteworthy for the folks at home? I hate to put you on the spot. If you don't have one right away, we can let Mark go first if there's one.
I don't know. Well, call me boring, but I feel like I said, every one of my clients has their own unique journey and their own unique reason for purchasing. And I celebrate with every single one of them. And then even during the home buying process, that journey is a journey in itself. You mentioned, the ugly truth is that, things come up, right? Things come up. It's not always smooth. But even getting through that, it makes each home buying process for each of my clients such a journey. And
they're like your children. You know what? They're like your children. You can't just pick one.
Yeah, they are. You grow a connection with every single one of your clients in some sort of way or fashion. You're cheering for them the entire time. Sometimes you cry together and you're laughing together, and so you're on this journey together. So every single one of those of my clients just have different stories.
I got one.
Oh, gosh, so I can't even think of just one. Sorry.
Yeah, go Mark. It's okay. Go Mark.
One that I thought that really sticks in my mind is I helped a widow. She not only was a widow, but she was deaf. And so she needed to sell her house. She didn't live here anymore. She lived out of state. Her late husband was a decorated military veteran. And so that house was the house where they raised their two children, and they had a lot of attachment to that house, and understandably so. Well, long story short, I dealt with her daughter who was living here, and she would FaceTime her mom. And so I would talk to the daughter. The daughter would then do the sign language to her mom and FaceTime, and then we would communicate that way. All the way to the closing. At closing, the daughter was sitting there with FaceTiming her mom out in another state and doing the whole sign language, and the mom was sitting there with a notary so that she could sign all the documents. But at the end of the day, what ended up happening was that we ended up selling the house for $20,000 above what we originally thought we were going to sell the house for. So she was elated.
Sure.
She was so happy with the service that we had in, sending someone to her and then finding a title company that would work with her through her disability. And just to add a cherry on the top, we had multiple offers. We had 12 offers on that house within 3 days. And so we had to go through all 12 offers and figure out, okay, which is going to be the best one. They had to figure out which is the one they were going to accept. And they were all pretty much above asking price. But the one she ended up picking was not the highest offer. It was the second highest offer by about $2,000 or $3,000. And the reason she picked that is because the person that was looking to buy the house was a military veteran. It was the only military veteran out of all of them. And so she decided, in order to honor my husband, my late husband, I'm going to go ahead and let this military family take it. So overall, it was just a really cool general experience that both me and the escrow agent or the title company really just, you're like, okay, that one felt good. And they all feel great, but that one was just.
Yeah, no, and that's what I was kind of asking for, Mark, is, just the extraordinary. Because as Ashley said, and this is why Ashley is a great professional realtor, is you're having these great moments with all your clients, so your clients can expect that. But from time to time, you're going to have these peculiar, if is a word to use, where you're dealing with someone who's the communication who communicates in a different way. You're having to change things, and then, like you said, the cherry on top of having the multiple offers, which is kind of segues into another topic that I wanted to bring up. Is, so the market's hot, you're getting multiple offers, so you're getting into these bidding wars. And in Mark's example, imagine what a great position to be in when you can choose to sell it for a little less for some noble reason, right? But normally most people are just going to sell it to the highest bidder, right? So that's great for everybody also. Have y'all had any experience recently, maybe in your last couple deals and multiple offers, whether and how that's different on when you're listing as opposed to with the buyers?
Well, as a listing agent, that's just absolutely fantastic. And normally they say, well, I've heard people say, whenever you get multiple offers, it means you didn't price it right. You priced it too low. But right now the market is just absolutely insane to where we have low inventory. We need more houses on the market. So if you're ready to list, make sure you give me a call. 210.
Yes.
No, we do need more houses on the market. Buyers are fighting for homes. So you're going to have bidding wars on every single home. You've got people begging to be the backup offer. Please, let me know when it falls through. Let me know, and calling you day after day through the option period. So once you list a home, right now the market's so hot, the chances of having multiple offers is going to be pretty high, depending on the price point, of course.
I'm glad you brought that up, because as you were talking there, I was making a note. So there's a percentage of the buyers out there that fall. You have the high end buyer who's buying, a $700,000 home, okay, and you got these other buyers everywhere in between. And then there's the larger pie, the pie graph or the pie chart. You have a larger amount who are in this particular price range, right? And so, like here in Corpus Christi, you see 1,600 square foot houses. Let's say new construction, 1,600 square feet. 4 or 5 years ago, and then maybe 10 years ago, you're looking at a little over $100 a square foot. Maybe that house is selling for $200,000. Okay. Now, and less, let's say 192 or something like that, 187. Right now, I think I insured a home. And so when people are calling me for quotes and they're buying a new house, they're telling me, so I know what the square footage is, and then I know what the purchase price is. Okay. And so I think we did one that was a little over 1,800 square feet, and the purchase price is $240 something. And I'm thinking, geez, that's quite a bit for 1,800 square feet. but it's just the location, and then it's a new home. Is there particularly, you said the price range, or in a particular area where it's real competitive? So you find these starter homes, these 1,600 square foot homes that are selling for a particular amount in that price range, where then you're getting all these offers. Mark, go ahead. Mark, what
I know,
anything in
so
particular
here you-
come to mind?
Yeah. So when you're looking at that pie chart, looking at statistically, when you are dealing with shoppers that are $500,000 and above, you are reaching about 5% of the market. So it's a very small sliver for those that are in the luxury, $500,000 homes and above. The average home here in San Antonio is somewhere around $250,000. So that's where you're going to have the bigger pool of people that are looking to buy somewhere between, let's say, 300 down to 200. I guess somewhere in that bracket. Of course, there are people that'll buy in the 100s, which is fine. But I would say the bigger area is going to be right around that $200,000 mark. And it does have an effect, I guess, because there are, like Ashley said, there are so many buyers and very few sellers. There's really two reasons to list your house right now, because, or maybe even three. One would be because we don't know when the next market shift is going to happen. It could happen next month. It could happen 10 years from now. I don't know, but it's going to happen. So that'd be number one. Number two, the rates are so low that people, as we've mentioned multiple times, there are so many buyers out there. And number three, of course, that creates competition, that creates demand. So whenever there's demand, well, unfortunately, the prices are going to go up because of the economics, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's just such a great time to buy. So even if, I'm personally considering that right now, because I'm in a home and I really have no reason to move right now. I'd like to move, but I'm thinking, wow, if I'm a military veteran, so if I can get my VA loan, move right now and get a 2.25% interest rate, and then hold on to that house and rent the house that I'm in, that might be a pretty good strategic move. So I think I kind of went in a couple of different rabbit trails there, but.
No. That makes sense. That makes sense. And so you mentioned a couple of reasons why people may be motivated, even though there's still a shortage. There's a lower inventory, but maybe that's a way in which realtors can start marketing. And like you said, things could change a month from now. Who knows? We have an election coming up, things like that. Who knows what's going to happen? But that could be a way to try to persuade people with some marketing to, like you were mentioning, there's no reason to sell their house other than some kind of financial strategy. Like, hey, we're doing this because, take the emotion out, but I can get ahead by getting into this other house, and then maybe, like you said, perhaps renting the current house.
Yeah.
We might be able to increase inventory that way. But then the thing is, you're really not gaining, because they're listing one, but then now they're trying to buy another.
Yeah.
So we really just need. Is new construction, Ashley? What does new construction look like in San Antonio? And where is it? All over? Is there a particular location where there's much more of it compared to others?
You're going to find it here in San Antonio. You're going to find it more so on the outskirts right now. San Antonio's busting at the seams.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeing a lot of new builds, far west, far east side, outskirts. It's like an entirely new city. What was normally just trees and brush and no traffic lights is all of a sudden, you've got traffic lights, you've got a whole, just an entire different world, entire different civilization. Especially on the west side, San Antonio's southwest side, that's growing at such a crazy rate.
And how far out of San Antonio is that? 20 minutes? Is that 20 miles out? 30 miles out?
So it's actually, with San Antonio, you've got an inner circle, which is 410. Then you've got the outer circle of 1604. So that outer circle, basically anything outside of that is considered, I want to say about 4 miles out is considered outside the city limits, just about. And you can reap some rewards with that. That means no city taxes. Whenever on your taxes, no city taxes, you can eliminate that for a lower tax rate. But then you also have a program that gives you down payment assistance called the USDA loan, and that usually hits basically the majority of what's outside of 1604, but then you've got pockets even within 1604 as well that'll qualify the home, and that's just because it's still considered agricultural land, not fully developed, so it's still it allows that for some of these homes. Now the client has to qualify as well. They have income limits to qualify for those.
But there's these pull factors that are bringing people further out of the city. Some being, advantages with their loans or the price per square footage. So I imagine a house out there, these newer neighborhoods out there, may be more affordable compared to maybe somewhere else that's in the city, or maybe not. Are these places also have newer schools? Is that one reason why people are moving out there?
So, yeah, you can find some housing a little bit more affordable out there. One community that comes to mind is going to be Silos, which is a Lennar community. Lennar offers homes there starting at the 160s. I mean, a brand new home at $160,000 is completely unheard of here. Of course, they have to factor in some variables or some, how do I say, they have to accommodate for that price. Margins become a little tight as well.
Do they have to have and the name escapes me too, but when you live for your water, where they have the because you don't have the city, because you're not tied in, so you have the we have it here in Corp. What's it called?
Are you just talking about
well, where you get your water from? So if you live outside of the city,
a well or a septic tank for
a septic tank, the well, a water well, septic tank. Are these people having those? We're talking about other expenses or other things that you would have to worry about when you're living out there. Now you got to worry about these other things.
So as far as water, no. Some homes, some communities do. You are going to need a septic tank, and even I feel like, you can even find that around in the city as well. Closer to 4 as well. But those new communities, no to the septic. You're good. You're good on all that. But there are quite a few, and they're all springing up, especially around Highway 90, 211. Then you've got your northeast side in Converse, Schertz area. But you've got a mix too.
I'm real interested now. I need to bring somebody in from the city because I haven't. We're talking about the septic tank and a water pump and the different areas in these in San Antonio, but then here in Corpus Christi, and I'm kind of curious. How does that really work? Why do some communities have to have this? How's that get out there? I have no idea. I'm just not realizing, folks at home. So if you do know, you can send me an email at jaminsdaily@gmail.com. Mark, we're gonna kind of come to a close here on our podcast. But I did want to ask you, on your Ashley did a great job of opining on that price range, on the bidding wars in different locations. I know y'all work for the EXP, right? EXP Realty. So I know y'all colleagues in that way, but everybody, I guess you kind of take your listings or you take your buyers where you can find them, right? It would be great if you could just be really picky. But is there a particular area in San Antonio? Maybe any new construction where you're listing more that you like to let the folks at home know about?
We've been talking. Ashley's been talking about the outskirts of the city, whether you're in Corpus Christi or San Antonio. I think the outskirts is really blowing up. It's just amazing. Not only in new communities for home development, but you've got brand new schools, high schools, middle schools, elementaries. You've got HEB moving out there. You've got the QT gas stations blowing up everywhere. You got so much infrastructure going out into those areas that you really don't have to worry so much about, is there, in fact, a lot of those areas don't even have electrical lines, hanging anymore. It's all underground. Fiber optics. It's just the outskirts just because of the demand and because they're just growing so much, tends to kind of be where I think we're generally looking at and going out and doing more business. Now we do business, Ashley and I do business all over the city. We work together as a team. So whether it's downtown or way out in Bernie or towards New Braunfels or out towards Castroville, I mean, because those areas are just expanding more and more. Ashley mentioned the two loops that we have. 410 is the inner loop, and then we have 1604. Well, now there's a lot of talk about making a third loop around San Antonio, which is Highway 46 that connects New Braunfels over to Bernie and continues on the west side. So all of that area, as it continues to expand, and because of the attraction that there's no city tax, which, by the way, let me interject that many communities have that locked in so that when you move in, you take advantage of the no city tax. And when and if San Antonio ever decides to take over that and annex that area, you still are locked into that no city tax. So that's a great incentive in and of itself. So I guess to circle back and answer your question, yeah, the outskirts, because this is blowing up so much, there's just so much demand. A lot of people are just asking us for information on homes in those areas. And you have mainly new homes. There are some older homes that are in, but they're more like ranch houses and acres and stuff like that. But a lot of brand new communities out there that, so whether, someone's listening to us from the Corpus Christi or San Antonio, check out the outskirts of your city. Especially if you can work from home, your kids are at home. And even if they do have to commute, if you don't have to commute down to downtown Corpus Christi, for example, take a look at what the city's doing. Where are the developments coming up? Where are the new permits coming up for a brand new mall or brand new schools? And where's HEB expanding? Where are they buying property? Those are areas that you should keep an eye on, because if you're looking at moving out a little bit further, you don't have to be traveling into town and out of town for grocery shopping and for school and for work and for all that.
And oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go Ashley. You were going to say something?
Well, for Corpus, wouldn't that be London area? Isn't that where everybody's going? Sure.
London, that's way out Weber, London area. A lot of growth over there. A whole entirely different school district. And then within CCISD, everything is on the south side. They built a new high school, Veterans Memorial. So some of these houses that I'm talking about that are 1,600 square feet, selling for $220,000, are in that school district. They built a new middle school out there. So that is where the growth is. And then, as you said, and that's like still part of the south of the city. To me, London is almost like it's like a Calallen, its own little community, because you have to go there. You're not just going to be traveling through there and then get, you actually have to make a decision. Say, hey, I want to go to London area. You drive over there. But guys, I just want to thank you for joining us. I think we got in some great information for the folks at home. Just want to remind everybody that Mark and Ashley work with eXp Realty in San Antonio, Texas. Ashley, if you want, I really like for you to, why don't you give out some handles, your email or your Twitter or whatever it is that we're using nowadays, and repeat it once or twice so the folks can get it.
So I am on Facebook. I do have a Facebook business page, Ashley Pena Realtor, or Ashley Pena Texas Realty. But look up Ashley Pena Realtor, you'll find me. I am on Instagram, Ashley Pena Realtor. I do want to say, and if you need to list or buy, 210-906-9435, 210-906-9435. And before we leave, I do have some shout outs. Some people were watching on Facebook Live and they chimed in.
Yes.
Shout out, Jamin.
Yes.
We had Stephanie Acuna watching, and she went to high school with us. Jessie Loza from here, a friend of mine from San Antonio. Monica Symes, she went to A&M Corpus Christi with me. Kayla Barrera, Reggie Guevara from Corpus. Thomas Moreno, do you remember a Thomas Moreno?
Yes, we are Facebook friends.
Okay, so he said, hey, homies, tell Jamin I said, what's up? Hope y'all have a blessed day. Stay warm. We had one of our coworkers, Oscar Villalobos. He's also with eXp Realty, starting off as a brand new agent and making it happen. So he's another go-to. Miss Amanda, who I met in Corpus and is now up here in San Antonio. Jonathan Morales, do you remember Jonathan?
Yes, yes. I say some of these people that you're mentioning, I specifically send links to the podcast to sometimes because we're Facebook friends. So whenever you can find Jamin's Daily on Facebook, and so every time we post a new podcast, I put it on Facebook, and then I'll DM a couple of people, to watch it, right? So Jonathan Morales is one of them, and Thomas. Well, no, he was a football player. We played football together.
Yes.
And so I see his post on Facebook. So we've communicated a couple times.
So Jonathan's somebody to be looking out for. I'm not going to be too specific, but definitely keep an eye out for Mr. Jonathan Morales. He may actually be a great guest to have as well.
Okay, I'm going to put it out there.
Cesario Gutierrez, he works with one of our builders. It's good that we have relationships with our builder reps, so that way we know that they're in good hands. Mr. Robert Benya. Oh, Rick Molina.
Yes, I know Rick.
He was watching.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah. Jason Rodriguez, Sarah Lindsay, Benya, Sally, my dad, of course, Clemente Rodriguez.
Yes, Clemente. Mark's over here thinking, Mark, a lot of these people are people we went to school with and our age. That's amazing. If every one of these people needs to go to Jamin's Daily on Facebook and follow me, okay?
Oh, you can't see my phone, but make sure you're following Jamin's Daily on Facebook.
It's on Facebook, and we're fixing to start, once we get to episode 50, we're fixing to start a YouTube channel. Okay, so we're fixing to launch YouTube channel, and I would say maybe in the next 6 weeks, we're going to have a YouTube channel. So we're kind of, stepping our game up, kind of trying to get all avenues to be heard and to be seen.
There you go. Everybody make sure.
Mark, go ahead, Mark. Where can people find you?
Well, my name is Mark Longoria. My phone number is 210-262-7815. And my website is let me give you my business website. My business website is gx3properties.com. So GX3 is because me and my two sons our first name is Gabriel. So it's G times 3, gx3properties.com. You can shop for homes in and around the San Antonio area by going to that website.
That was gx3properties.com.
Correct.
Terrific.
But I also want to mention a couple of other things. For those of you that are looking to buy and or sell, even if you're not in the Corpus Christi or San Antonio area, reach out to either me or Ashley, because we have a network. Our brokerage is all across the country. So right now I have helped, I've helped so many people already that are buyers in Austin, in Philadelphia, in Florida. Some of the ones escape me. So if you're looking to move for whatever reason, and you're gonna go out of state or out of the city, let us know, because we have a whole network of realtors that we work with that are our business partners and that we can connect you with. So reach out to us. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you are an active real estate agent or looking to become a real estate agent, again, our network is so large across the entire country that we can literally have teams anywhere. So if you're watching from, who knows, Minnesota, if you're in Tampa Bay, wherever it is you're watching and you're a licensed agent or thinking of becoming a licensed agent, give us a call, because we'd like to talk to you. We are growing a team not only across the country, but we are growing a team internationally. We are already in the UK. We are in Australia. We are in Canada. We just opened up South Africa. By the end of this year, and here comes my son, so here goes the dog. By the end of this year, we're going to be in Mexico, France, Portugal, and India. So we are growing all over. And so in any one of those cities across the country and in any one of those countries across the world, we can literally build a team, a real estate team that just continues to help people with their real estate needs. So again, number is 210-262-7815.
And Jamin, anytime people are working with Mark and I, we work together not as a formal real estate team, but as a collaborative team, and we are marketing each other's properties. It's like you're getting 3 or 4 agents all for the price of one. So,
Sure.
you have 4 agents there rooting you on, cheering for you throughout the process, brainstorming and helping with negotiations. So definitely make sure to give us a call.
Very true.
Well, you heard it for yourselves, folks at home. Thanks again for joining us with Jamin's Daily. Don't forget that this podcast, there goes the dog. You know, Mark, don't worry about it, because this isn't the first time. I had a guest a while back, maybe episode 10 or something, and his dog was just going crazy, and there was nothing we could do about it. You just get over it. But don't forget, folks at home, podcast is brought to you by Sage Choice Insurance Agency. You can reach us at 361-400-2411. You can, Ashley and Mark, I have this website. It's really not a website. It's really just a form. It just forwards to this really cool, I'm sure if you've heard of Root Insurance or some of these, I think one's called Zebra. There are all these, they advertise on TV. These are all online. You go on and get a quote. And they use these cool, advanced, simple forms for their users to fill out so they can get a quote. I'm basically using the same thing. You can go to quotefromjamin.com, fill out the form. It's all encrypted, super safe, sends us the information we need to give you a quote. So thanks again, folks at home. Mark, Ashley, thanks for joining us. Folks, stick with us because the best is yet to come.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.